just going to kind of give you a little intro into like the real basics of the brass band genre. And we're going to start by doing something that's kind of pulls from the history of the brass bands, coming from like a military aspects. The brass band is actually kind of from New Orleans. It's kind of a weird gumbo of a lot of different styles of music, and part of it came from European brass bands, which are very regimented and march-oriented. So what we're going to do here is just kind of like a roll-off like you hear on the streets. A lot of this was material that you'd hear up until probably about like the 1950s, would be real stereotypical. So you kind of hear some elements of the march that you hear in like a marching band or a more military aspect. However, with the New Orleans feel to it, where they lay the accents is going to be a little bit different. So those tunes on the streets would start with a roll-off, and then they just kind of go into like a song. So we're just going to kind of play like some stereotypical drum pattern that you might hear with something like that. That's kind of where, I mean, we're kind of improvising a little bit, but the real basic feel, as you can hear with the bass drum, it's a real straight accent. You hear the 1 and the 3, but the accent is always going to be in the New Orleans style, is going to be on beat 4 of every other beat. So it's like every 8th beat is going to be where the accent comes, and that's where it kind of gets that forward motion. The cymbal, a lot of times, I was playing a straight cymbal on all 4 beats, but a lot of times the cymbal in a brass band on a bass drum is almost just acting like a clutch of a hi-hat, so that's where you're getting your sense of time from. Stylistically kind of works independently of each other, but it fits either way. So if I go to like that, what I call the street beat, which is a little more of a syncopated feel to it versus a real straight marching band feel, it fits over what he's doing either way that he wants to play it, and vice versa. I can play, one pattern, and he can go either with more the traditional straight snare on or snare off, or play it almost like a timbale or a tenor drum feel with the snares off. So you've got a little bit of combination there, and a lot of it boils down to just kind of, as time has evolved, you get different people that are listening to different things and are picking different things up, and so they're bringing different elements into the music.
I played in a lot of Latin groups around town, and I've spent time in Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Brazil, so I've always had a sort of a penchant for Latin stuff and tropical music, and that really there's this huge crossover between New Orleans stuff and stuff in the Caribbean, mainly because of the historical aspect of the slave trade from West Africa to the Caribbean and New Orleans, which was, they call it like the northernmost Caribbean city a lot of the time. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and within that, I like a lot of the. I play timbales, and I really timbale stuff into what I do with the brass band, because a lot of other stuff we're just playing and the snares are off. I mean, it's like a lot of it's timbale based and clave based. And beyond that, again, it's like going along with the gumbo, it's really a combination. There's a lot of elements of the Latin stuff, marching bands. What else do we usually?
We're talking about like hand drumming.
Hand drumming, yeah,
that's a really
right.
big thing.
Like that pattern I was playing, just broken down the that's right along with the conga pattern. It's pretty much exactly, you know, what I'm doing is replicating that. So yeah, and that's and as far as this, you know, I don't have an extensive marching band background whatsoever, but with this stuff, and especially New Orleans stuff, it's like the looser you can play it, and the more kind of you don't want to be really tight and rudimentally based. You want to more kind of greasy and kind of just laid back, and a lot of buzzes. I mean, the first thing that we played, I did a lot of buzzes and drags and rolls and stuff, and kind of you want to keep it loose, basically.
I started listening to the group out of New Orleans that a lot of people are familiar with. It's called Dirty Dozen Brass Band. And so I started going to see them when I was about 15 years old, and I've been kind of collecting music. And the one thing that I always say is that, you know, you can pick up a lot of recordings and listen to it and try to emulate a lot of it. However, once you've actually gone and seen the performances live, it kind of takes it to a different level, because it's kind of like, you know, if you've gone to any concert, I don't know who you guys like to listen to, but, you know, the CD sounds like one thing, but then you go and you see them actually doing it live, and it takes it to a whole different level. And that's kind of the big thing about New Orleans brass bands, is that you can learn a lot from recordings, but like Dizzy said, once you travel down there and you actually experience this, and you see these guys doing it and fully get encapsulated and brought into that moment, it takes it to a whole different level. So I've been listening to a lot of different brass bands. I mean, there's countless guys down in New Orleans that we've got recordings of that we listen to all the time. And you know, you kind of have to immerse yourself into the culture if you want it to sound authentic doing it. It's not saying that if you don't, you're not going to sound authentic. It's just going to take a little bit longer, just like anything else. The more you can do it and the more you expose yourself to it, the more you practice it, the better it's going to become, and the more natural it's going to become for you. So I think that that's kind of the biggest thing. And then obviously, you know, nobody wants to be a copycat. I mean, when I listen to Andrew play, he doesn't sound, you know, straight exactly on every single time we play a tune. He doesn't sound exactly like somebody else from New Orleans, whether they play with Rebirth, New Birth, Tremaine, Little Rascals, Forgotten Souls, anybody. He sounds like, you know, he's playing the stylistic properly, but yet he's also inserting himself into the music, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about the brass bands, is that you don't want to necessarily sound the same, because, as you guys probably know, if you rehearse and play everything the exact same way every single time you play, it kind of gets boring and repetitive. And so with the brass band music, you've got that freedom of expression a little bit, where you can kind of insert yourself into the music and change things up.